Well, hello and happy St. Patrick's Day, and welcome to a very special edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel, and I am certainly feeling the luck of the Irish today. I guess when your last name's Greene, it's pretty easy, though. I love talking about relationships, partnerships, connections, because the travel industry is one of the last remaining industries where true partnerships really matter. And at Avoya Travel, our relationships run very deep and with the biggest players in leisure travel. So how lucky are we then with the Q&A that we've got lined up for you today that will feature one of the industry's top luxury brands, Oceania Cruises, and one of the travel industry's great ambassadors, Guillaume Cameron, Business Development Manager for Strategic Accounts at Oceania Cruises. Guillaume will be joining us for a pre-Cruise 360 Meet the Industry feature because Oceania Cruises are one of the sponsors of our sold-out engagement event that leads off this year's top industry showcase. And it's been a historic month so far for Oceania Cruises, and our timing on the show could not be any better. If you sell luxury, if you want to sell luxury, if you need a partner that can help you tap into the resources to close luxury clients, you will not want to miss our feature coming up here in just a few moments. Before we get to that great Q&A, we're going to feature some of the top stories impacting travel professionals this week, including a welcomed rollback of COVID threat levels on cruising from the CDC, news from Princess Cruises as they announce more ships are being deployed to sail from the United States. The numbers don't lie, and the data says airline travel is already back to pre-pandemic levels, and Celebrity Cruises goes above and beyond as they announce the entertainment lineup for the newest member of that fleet. All of those coming up shortly in our Eye on the Industry feature. We'll also touch base on resources for both new to travel professionals and our experienced agents watching the program today, and make sure that you have all the ways to get in touch and start that conversation. So let's kick it off. This week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update with some industry insights and our Eye on the Industry feature. Well, better late than never, I guess, if I'm being honest. But the CDC did finally roll back its COVID threat level for cruising to a level 2. Let me give that a quick little golf clap right there for making that decision. It's moderate risk is what level 2 stands for. It's the lowest level issued by the CDC for the cruise industry since March of 2020. And as is noted in a Travel Weekly story this week, the warning level has been a source of frustration for the cruise industry, which had contended that cruise ships were being singled out, CLIA calling it a perplexing issue when the CDC issued a level 4 notice in December of last year. CLIA had argued that the number of cases identified on cruise ships was a slim minority of cases and were often asymptomatic, taking up very few medical resources. Now, under the current 2-level alert, the CDC advises that travelers up to date with COVID-19 vaccines, they should be, before cruising, and warn those that are not vaccinated or at increased risk of severe illness, they should avoid cruise travel. And of course, we'll continue to follow this ongoing story. Princess Cruises announced this week that 4 of its ships will be redeployed and sail out of the United States, leaving ports in New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Japan, and the South Pacific. Part of it is due to ongoing issues with regulations in these foreign ports, still kind of all the lingering impacts of COVID, as well as a desire to meet demand from U.S. travelers that want to be able to drive to the port. So the 4 ships impacted are the Diamond, Royal, Ruby, and Majestic Princess. The Ruby Princess is headed for Galveston, marking the end of a 6-year absence for the brand in the Lone Star State. Other highlights of the move include the Diamond Princess redeploying to San Diego and the Royal Princess home porting out of San Francisco. Of course, travel closer to home is an ongoing movement, and it seems like a smart move by Princess to capitalize on that. Hopefully, it leads to more booking for U.S. travel advisors. We're big believers in the power of data here at Avoya Travel, that numbers just don't lie. We make business intelligence a cornerstone resource for the Avoya network. So this story in Travel Pulse certainly caught my eye this week. New data from the Adobe Digital Economy Index, big name, analyzes data from 6 of the top 10 airlines in the country and over 150 billion web visits. They found that February's domestic flight bookings have now exceeded pre-pandemic levels. Americans spent a whopping $6.6 billion in online domestic flight bookings in February alone. That's 6% from the same time frame in 2019. Now, the hotspots that travelers are booking right now should come as no surprise: Florida, Hawaii, California leading the way. This mirrors what we see internally here at Avoya Travel. In fact, you may remember when we had Andy Craig on a couple of weeks ago, the Associate Vice President for Marketing. Andy said that our network is also seeing a surge in bookings, especially for Hawaii. He singled out that location in particular. And finally, the ship that will serve as the home for the 2022 Avoya Conference in November, the Celebrity Beyond, has announced its debut entertainment lineup. This is Captain Kate and the whole crew on the Beyond. Get ready to welcome their first revenue passengers next month. The Celebrity Beyond will feature the largest theater of the company in the company's fleet, and it will introduce 3 all-new stunning production shows. One of them is Elements. It's a journey through the 5 elements. Makes sense. Art immerses audiences on iconic works of art in a groundbreaking masterpiece. Dance, high-flying acrobatics, mind-bending visual effects, and then Stage Door. It's designed to make you feel like you have an exclusive backstage pass into the heart of the biggest Broadway and West End musicals. And the Beyond will sail out of England next month and then hit other European ports during the summer, then redeploy to Florida in the fall. Now, the Avoya Conference will be on board November 8th through the 13th. It's exclusive for those in the Avoya Network. But if you get your request in today at avoyanetwork.com, if you become an affiliate before this sells out, you too could join us there next November on the Celebrity Beyond. And the entertainment on the Apex last year was amazing. I'm sure it will live up to the name and go beyond this year. Are you ready for our weekly Q&A segment? I know I am. We always enjoy the guests we feature, but the Meet the Industry featured guests really stand out because they're the movers, the shakers that make our industry work, and they also have incredibly busy schedules. So finding the time to be on our program is a big honor for us. So our guest today, Guillaume Cameron, represents one of the premier luxury brands in cruising. He has years of travel industry experience, works directly with some of the top travel professionals, not only in the Avoya network, but our whole industry. And he knows what it takes to close luxury clients and how to resonate with the kind of people that purchase brands like Oceania Cruises. So let's welcome in our very special Meet the Industry guest today, Guillaume Cameron, Business Development Manager for Strategic Accounts at Oceania Cruises. Guillaume, thanks for being with us today for On Deck with Avoya.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here, I guess. How are you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. So Guillaume, before we jump into some exciting updates on Oceania, and what a month for you guys, could you first give us a little bit of personal backstory about yourself and how you ended up in the travel industry?
For sure. I'm glad this is a 2-hour call that we're about to do here. I go way back. I actually started in the cruise industry when I was 21, if you can believe that. I actually was a casino dealer on board ships for quite a number of years. Where I worked for a few different mainstream companies out there, and I managed to kind of amass about almost 300 cruises under my belt. So managed to travel to a few different destinations in that time. What eventually kind of brought me over to North America, because obviously, I don't have quite the typical Canadian accent here, as that I actually met my wife on board, who was working alongside me as well. So we, did a few contracts together, and then eventually, made our way out to Canada, where I actually started in the travel industry, selling travel, and up here in Canada. I was working for a pretty big company up here, who mainly kind of worked, in the sun and sand sector, like a lot of different flights. So I kind of really cut my teeth there. But one of the things that those guys could never really understand was like, how the heck does this guy make money booking cruises? It just made no sense. And I kind of fell back onto my cruise ships days, and I wanted to provide a kind of similar level of service that I did whilst I was on board to the guests. And essentially I was trying to be an extension of that cruise ship prior to them getting on board and being part of that as a sales process. So actually I was an advisor for nigh on about 8 years. So, walked a mile in a lot of the advisors' shoes out there. So, I kind of understand the day-to-day struggles and how it works from your side of the desk, and essentially, I did pretty well with the cruise side of things for this flight company, where they were like, okay, let's try and figure out doing a cruise brand up here. So I ended up spearheading the launch of a cruise brand up here in Canada, solely specifically really focusing on cruise. And as part of that, I was actually selling a lot of Oceania at that point there too. And as that kind of developed, I was training a lot of different advisors during that time. And as part of that, I joined a fairly large online retailer to become a product expert with them to create training systems for new advisors coming on board to train them up in the cruise industry. Because, as a lot of it's a pretty niche market and it's a pretty steep learning curve as well. So, that all kind of came about, and eventually Oceania was always a passion of mine. There was an opportunity with Oceania 4 years ago, and I joined the company as a business development manager, working on smaller accounts, really trying to hone in some agencies out there that were, maybe didn't really know us all that well, to help in regards to their training and bring on their sales. And as part of that, I actually ended up getting Business Development Manager of the Year with Oceania in my first year of joining them. And boom, pandemic hits, and the story continues. And as part of that, we identified that there was definitely going to be a few partners, Avoya especially being one of those, that as we were emerging out of the pandemic, they were going to be really well equipped to handle this post-pandemic world, essentially. And as part of that, we wanted to give a little bit more focus and a little bit more support when it comes to the Avoya side of things. And as part of that, I was brought on to kind of help with the front lines. So I'm here to kind of assist all the Avoya advisors out there on their normal day-to-day, and essentially trying to hone in to, as you say, really focus in on that luxury side of things. I've worked in the cruise industry. I've worked on the selling side of things. I'm working on the supplier side of things. So I guess the last thing I've got to do is own my own cruise lines. So, stay tuned for that in the next few years. I'm not sure what we should call it. Maybe get some nice suggestion from you guys. I don't know.
For a guy that, started off dealing cards in the casino, you sure have played your cards pretty well, my friend. You know what I mean, to end up here. So where did that love of travel, what inspired you to want to take that first job and start to see the world?
Oh, well, it's I've had a passion for travel since I was as a kid. So Guillaume is not a very typical Scottish name. Guillaume's actually French for William. I'm half French. So every year I would travel for my summer vacations down to France to see my grandparents. And I mean, that was the initial spur for all that kind of travel. I loved going to those different destinations just as solely as a kid. And it's very funny that I ended up in the cruise industry, because normally I would have to take the cross-channel ferries in the UK going across the English Channel. And it is a notoriously rough piece of sea. And these ferries are nothing kind of like our beautiful cruise lines at all. And, God, I had no sea legs at that point as a kid. And I swore when as an 8-year-old self that I would never work in the cruising industry whatsoever. And yet here I am. So that's kind of where it first spurred. Exactly, right? So yeah, that's kind of where it first spurred. Obviously I've been very lucky as part of when I started in cruises to see a lot of different destinations. And that really kind of spurred on that travel to the point where when I came back on land, it was a really easy mesh for me. I could share that passion of mine to go travel, and I could share that passion of mine about the cruise lines. It was just a really good synergy between all the things to make me come to the industry.
Yeah, once travel gets its hooks into you, man, you're hooked for life.
It's true.
Guillaume, we have some of our viewers that are new to the travel industry. Could you maybe explain to us exactly what being a business development manager entails, kind of like what your day-to-day would look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, the name of the game for me as a business development manager is to help assist you either get to know a little bit more about Oceania Cruises, or extend that passion that I have for the line so that it gets to your guests, and essentially that you're going to suggest us a little bit more. You're not maybe quite as much of an order taker. We're there to kind of develop your broader knowledge of the cruise industry overall. There's so many great business development managers out there that definitely one of the things is, when I was an advisor myself, kind of honing in on that little niche or that little specific on what really drives you to really inspire your guests to keep on traveling. And one thing I always kind of tried to develop was a graduation of my guests, so that if they were coming to one of the mainstream lines, then I'd be looking to try and put them up into one of the premium lines down the line. If they were in that premium line, there's this great line called Oceania that goes to these fantastic different types of destinations that you maybe not have thought of before, or that cuisine it's a real step up in the game changer there for you. So really, my day-to-day there is to assist the knowledge base, is to assist essentially with some of the sales as well. So if you have that harder conversation where they're maybe a little bit on the fence and some of the offers aren't maybe totally setting the heather on fire, as to coin a Scottishism there, I'm here to maybe help nudge that conversation a little bit more towards us. So that's what I really try and bring to the day-to-day. As I say, I worked on ships for a number of years, and I try and make myself an extension of the service that you'll receive on board, to kind of give you a little bit of a taster of what it would be like for your guests when you're getting on board. So
and obviously working out pretty well, because it is some very exciting times at Oceania Cruises. What was your reaction when the 2024 180-day around the world sailing on the Insignia sold out in a whopping 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's just it's been just unbelievable, really, in that we're breaking records over and over, and I think the next world cruise we're going to sell out in 15 minutes. I don't know, the way that these things seem to be going right now, it's almost exponential. I mean, definitely for me, from my side of things, there was a bit of an inkling that this was going to be a popular sailing, and really for me, it was trying to get out that message to be like, hey guys, you need to let your guests know this, because they snooze, they lose, unfortunately, with that sailing. And I mean, we're just so incredibly proud to be sailing out such a fantastic cruise. I mean, 180 days around the world. It's our crown jewel. It's an absolute stunning itinerary. Year on year, we have those loyal guests either coming back, or we have new to brand guests that are wanting to try this out. And it's just unfathomable. We're all in this together, trying to work very hard to achieve these fantastic different types of sales, especially on these absolutely gems of sailings. So we were incredibly proud, and from the support from the Travel Advisor Network, it was just an incredibly proud moment to see it all gel together to come to such a fantastic result.
I mean, it's a true rock star moment, right? I mean, you hear of things like selling out in 30 minutes. You kind of relate it to like when the Rolling Stones announce a tour or something at that magnitude. So for you guys to announce something, and again, we're not talking about like 15 days, 30 days. This is 180 days around the world. It sells out in 30 minutes. It's just kind of mind blowing. So again,
it really is.
Congratulations to you and everybody at Oceania. And as a follow-up to that, Guillaume, what other exciting updates maybe could you share with us today about what's going on with Oceania?
Yeah, well, I mean, as a follow-up to the around the world, we also launched a series of grand voyages of sailings that vary from 72 to 82 days. The trend that we have seen in the last couple of years is that people are obviously they've missed out on their voyages for the last couple of years, so they're really making up for lost time in that they're booking longer voyages than we've ever seen before. And as part of that response, we wanted to launch these absolutely fantastic grand voyages. A real highlight for me is the 82-day from Abu Dhabi through to Tokyo. It goes through some absolutely amazing South Asian ports of call. Those are they still have availability currently at the moment. And again, the interest from guests is out there for those longer sailings. The other trend that we have also seen is people booking further out than ever before. So really kind of the name of the game for us this year is trying to get more inventory in your hands to be able to sell it further out, because the demand is there for it. And really it's up to you to get that message out to your guests that, listen, you know, we might be looking at an itinerary a couple of years out in advance here, but it's something that we really want to think about. So those are a couple of the trends that have been really exciting for us. But in terms of actual kind of offers, right now, actually today, St. Patrick's Day, we've just launched our O-Life Ultimate offer, which is hands down our absolutely best value back to your guests. So with the O-Life Ultimate, normally with O-Life, you're able to select one of three options between short excursions, a beverage package, or some shipboard credit. With the O-Life Ultimate offer, they don't have to make that decision because all three are already included. So that gives them the short excursions and the beverage package and the shipboard credit. And we've made that available on 26 different sailings throughout for a whole month booking window as well. So there's some really great closer in opportunities for some of the guests out there, and really for you to deliver that message too. And I guess the Vista continues on. It's just an absolutely, our newest vessel. It's kind of crazy because we've been talking about it for so long, and now it seems to be just emerging above the horizon. It actually went out for sea tests just recently. If you follow us on social media, you would have seen the champagne smashing against the hull there as kind of a little pre-christening, I guess. And I can't believe it. It's going to be there for delivery in like 12 months time. And at Oceania, 12 months goes like a blink of an eye almost at the moment. So that's so exciting.
Very exciting. Absolutely. Guillaume, this probably sounds like a softball question to you, but it's so important that travel advisors understand how to position various brands properly.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what sets Oceania Cruises apart from other brands in your same space? And if, as a travel advisor, if I was trying to position that properly, any tips that you might give me?
Yeah, I mean, really, actually, you know, it's not such a softball question because, like, I actually had an advisor come to me and ask me, you know, who's your main competition? I had to think about it. I was like, to be honest, I don't really know because we've created such a little niche for ourselves that we're in between those premium lines and in between those full-on luxury lines by design. The reason that we've done that is that we're trying to appeal to that guest who's looking for that little bit kind of above when it comes to the levels of service, the inclusions that they're getting on board, the amenities that they desire whilst on board as well. But they're maybe not in the space where they quite need as much hand-holding as the full-on luxury lines provide, because they're intrepid enough where they still want to go out and do their own thing whilst they're out and about in port. So by design, we're not an all-inclusive cruise line. You know, typically, if, you know, that guest that you may have has maybe traveled pretty extensively before, but they're looking at this itinerary because there's a couple of different ports of call on it that they're maybe not so familiar with. So, you know, they're going to go visit their funky little restaurant that they know in Sorrento, but they've maybe never been to Qatar before, so they need a short excursion there. So by design, we've created this fantastic little niche for ourselves where we're almost a little bit standalone in the marketplace in that design. Now, definitely one thing that we have seen is new to brand guests over the pandemic has been our third trend. Really, that we've seen so many new to brand guests who are looking maybe for less crowds. They're looking for that little bit more immersion in the destination. They want to stay more overnights. They want to stay longer in port. They're looking for our cuisine. I mean, Oceania, our cuisine is just absolutely renowned. And I know every cruise line talks about how great cuisine is, but really with us as a cruise line, we spend more on ingredients than any other line out there. It makes a huge difference to that overall experience to kind of create memories around that either the destination, the cuisine, or just the beautiful ships that we have.
Let me ask you a question as far as from a travel agent perspective, because I'm sure you help advisors with this kind of concept all the time. But
yep.
For so many people, selling luxury brands like an Oceania Cruises is the dream. That's the reason they probably got into the industry. Do you have any tips about how you kind of close those kind of clients so that maybe somebody could, like you said, you know, helping a client move up from one level to the next, What about helping an advisor who's been selling mostly mass market, but now wants to be able to focus on a luxury brand like
Sure. I mean, it's a few different things, right? It's not, it takes hard work. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. You gotta have to put the work in it yourself. You're going to have to really want to be able to provide that level of service to the guests, because that's really why they're going to our cruise line for, is that they're looking for that extra level of service. They're looking, you know, for the value back in and around that experience. So that's definitely one thing that you're going to have to work on. Additionally, as well, often it's about planting a seed, and it's that graduation. It might take 2 or 3 years before one of your guests is ever going to consider an Oceania cruise. You know, it's not necessary. Again, it's not something that's just going to come overnight. It is great that we are seeing so many new to brand guests. So that position is maybe not quite as extreme as it once was. You know, your guests are looking for these different types of opportunity. Learning about those different ports of call and why we differentiate, because ultimately, we have our 3 pillars, which is our ships, the destination, and the cuisine. And you know what? Every cruise line talks about those 3 things. Ultimately, they talk about how great the destination is. They talk about how good their ships are, and they talk about how great the cuisine is. But knowing the differentiators that we deliver at Oceania and why we create memories around those 3 things is going to be key for you to sell it more, because you understand how we're trying to deliver on those 3 things. And how that's been our brand message from the very, very start, is that, you know, next year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. And we've stayed tried, true, and tested to those 3 things within that time. So really getting in depth with us and understanding what the clients are really desiring and how that manifests itself within the Oceania brand overall, and how you can be an extension of that.
Guillaume Cameron, Business Development Manager for Strategic Accounts with Oceania Cruises, is our featured Meet the Industry guest today here on Deck with Avoya. Guillaume, how does Oceania view the issue of partnerships? I know here at Avoya Travel, we're incredibly happy and honored to have such deep relationships with Oceania, but I'm wondering how Oceania views, not just with Avoya, but just the concept of partnerships overall.
It's ingrained in our DNA. Without partnerships, we simply wouldn't be here. As a brand, you know, we do a lot of different marketing, but it's amazing to hear how many people have said, oh, you know what, I've never heard of Oceania before. Tell me more about them. So it's really, you are an extension of our selling arm, essentially. And the partnership there is simply that we would not be here without our partners, and especially without Avoya as well. We've been hand in hand since day one as a brand. And we really, that partnership has been key to our success ever since. And we have tried to support as much as possible through the pandemic. And, you know, it's the feedback that we have gotten back from advisors and our partnerships has been really key to solidifying the future for us. And really, again, part of that, we've seen the modeling where I've been brought onto this role to assist the very front lines, and that's something that we've never done before. So we're just trying to keep on solidifying that for the future, because it is absolutely key to our industry that we keep going hand in hand through the future.
Love hearing that. And speaking of that close relationship with Oceania Cruises, we're excited that Oceania is one of the sponsors for our pre-cruise 360 network event in Fort Lauderdale. This is going to give those in attendance the chance for some really quality time with Oceania and all of the sponsors that night. Guillaume, when you're face-to-face with the travel advisor community, why is that such an important moment for both you and the advisor?
Well, you know, that's where we can really get into the nitty-gritty of things, really, at the end of the day. I mean, what motivates them, why they're in the industry, why we're a good fit, why we want to connect with them. It's really, again, developing those personal relationships. We're not a big enough line to have a business development manager, which almost seems like every city that some of the bigger guys tend to have. So really getting that face-to-face time is absolutely key for us. We're here to develop those personal working relationships. And that goes throughout the brand as well. I know Scott and Nikki are going to be in attendance at Cruise 360, so please go say hi. Tell them how awesome I am. That's going to really no, no. Honestly, go say hi. They're absolutely fantastic. They're there. They're willing to listen to all your positivity or anything that you may have going on. We're here to try and assist as much as we can. As I say, developments of relationships go through from the very top through to the reservations as advisors at our reservation center as well. One of my tips is just a really simple one, is that, hey, listen, take a couple of names of our reservation advisors. Our res advisors, they're able to email you out. You're allowed to email them. They're even allowed to call out to you. You can leave them a voicemail. They're there to assist you selling more Oceania and developing that personal relationship. So really, yeah, that's, again, ingrained into the DNA here.
Great tip. What about, given all the amazing places I'm sure you've had to have traveled to, considering your experience, is there any that kind of really stand out, like a favorite place that you've had a chance to visit so far? And what would make that place amongst all the other ones kind of so special?
God, no, that's a question, right? Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to be a little bit biased. I'm going to go straight to home. Edinburgh, Scotland is just an absolute fantastic city. It's you know, I lived there for a number of years, and I gotta say, I miss it every single day. It's just an absolutely fantastic small city. We've only got like 250,000 people living there. You can actually sail out of Edinburgh as well with Oceania. I noticed that we have this really fantastic little sailing on the Serena this year that does a round trip from Edinburgh, and it goes out of Leith, which normally you're out South Queensferry, which it's great. It's just, again, getting into the heart of the destination there. The castle's right. It's actually, Edinburgh is such an easy city to navigate as well. If you're ever lost, just look for the castle, and then you can find your bearings once again. So I've got to say that. And beyond that, I really did love Bermuda for the pink beaches. The pink sand beaches was fantastic as well. You know, so I would probably have to say those two places.
Anything on the horizon coming up that you're really excited for personally as far as travel goes? Yeah,
you know what? I'm actually going to be lucky enough to be sailing on Oceania in a couple of months, actually. So I'm I'm allowed to take the family. So I hope my kids don't destroy the ship for your kids to come on board at some point. No, but yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. We're doing a little sailing, and prior to that, we're going down to LA for a few days, and we're going to do the Disneyland experience. The kids are kind of in about that perfect age for it. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that.
Sounds fantastic. Guillaume, given your position in the industry, everything that's been going on, as we hopefully kind of emerge from all of this COVID situation, what's your feeling about the future of leisure travel?
It's not going anywhere, that's for sure. We're honestly, we seem to be going from strength to strength. Make hay while you can, and really, again, the trends that have been out there are really pointing in a great direction for not just the industry as a whole, but there's so many cruise lines out there that have so many fantastic offers. One thing as an advisor, like go out to those guests. There's those guests out there who will be like, I'll never take a cruise in my life. I always say there's a cruise out there for everybody. And there's so many great partners out there. There's so many great and different and varied options to really send your guests out there that people have missed it in the last 2 years. Come on, they want to get out, they want to go and visit these different types of destinations and really rekindle that spirit of the joie de vivre of travel, So, having those conversations with your guests, again, sometimes it's a slow burn. And it's going to take them a while to get back. Some of them, obviously, other ones are just absolutely raring to go. So targeting those guests and those different varied destinations and those different types of experiences, it's going to go from strength to strength. So please please consider us. We're here to assist at any point as well. And yeah, we're just looking forward to welcoming back our guests. That's the main driver there too.
For sure. Guillaume Cameron, everyone, Business Development Manager for Strategic Accounts with Oceania Cruises. Guillaume, thanks so much for your time and that great discussion. I really look forward to catching up with you soon again, my friend.
I really am as well, and I really hope it's all subtitled for everybody at the end there as well. So
I don't know. I watched a couple of seasons of Peaky Blinders. I know it's not the same accent, but if I can pick up that, I think I'm okay today.
Okay, well, I'm glad I've not had a couple of Irish drinks today, so you can all understand me. So thank you.
For sure. Next week, we welcome back Skip Fortier, Vice President of Network Expansion, for an Avoya Insider segment. We'll preview Cruise 360, discuss Skip's involvement with making sure the politicians don't forget about the travel industry, as well as discussing trends and why now might be the best time ever to get into the travel industry. That is next Thursday at our normal time right here for On Deck with Avoya. You know, we have resources to help you, whether you're new to the travel industry or whether you're an experienced travel professional. Our resources can meet you no matter where you are in the journey. So reach out and start that conversation today. Gain access to marketing, technology, support, education. We're talking best in class resources. Build your business the way you want, and we'll help you with everything you need in order to be able to grow your business. So how do you get in touch with us? There's so many ways. It's really easy. Of course, you can leave us a comment right here if you're watching on one of our social media channels. You can reach out to me personally by email at chris.greene@avoyatravel.com. Our website, avoyanetwork.com, has a wealth of information. You can scan our code right there on the screen. You can call the toll-free number. We want to connect with you. We want to connect you with a network expansion specialist so you can hear our story, we can hear your story, and we can determine if that's a good fit for both of us moving forward. The really golden period of leisure travel is just about upon us. You don't want to miss out, and we'd love to hear from you. So again, reach out today and start that conversation. A big thank you again to Guillaume Cameron, my special guest today, Marissa Smith from marketing, doing an amazing job producing our segment today. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next Thursday. Until then, take care, everyone.